Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is your favorite crypto trading show, Crypto and Coffee with the Trading Bros. Has some news come in. Tornado Cash is in trouble with the U.S. government. And let's talk about what we think is going to happen with that just a little bit later. But first and foremost, we had a nice little drop. I hope everyone caught that yesterday and last night. I sure did. And big deal is New York going to stop, start with a stop hunt to the high and then the continuation down. Are we going to get some bouncing around? Let's find out. B. Wellington, good morning. What do you got on the charts over there, big guy?
So as you can see, we kind of moved up here yesterday. We had this, this pennant, if you want to call it that formed, and then we broke through the bottom of that pennant. So, just to be a matter of, whether or not we retouch these areas or whether or not we kind of range down here before we move back here, maybe creating a head and shoulders pattern. But obviously, we, if you can see through all the, let me zoom in a little bit, see through all of it. We had this very quick move to the upside in the European session yesterday. We kind of moved through that, moved to this accumulation, or if you want to call it a distribution, and all of a sudden we broke through that pennant to the downside. We're sitting right now on the 200 EMA, and therefore just kind of poking around here, seeing where we're at. I mean, we haven't broken any significant ranges to the downside, even though we have broken through the 50. So, we could potentially use this. I mean, this is yesterday's low as well. We could potentially bounce off yesterday's low, moving back up, forming an M, or breaking back through breaking through this high, which yesterday's high is coming up at
1725.
Yeah. So, well, really, the high that I have is
Yesterday's high.
yesterday's high, and so. We broke this low here. I would look at the psychological low, which we bounced off of. Somewhere we may come back to as well, depending on who gets on board and what. We'll take a look at high block and kind of see where those liquidations are. But we did do this double tap here, move back to the upside. This could be a potential target as well, coming back to this 1591 area if we're going to retest this resistance that flipped into support. But we'll see. We've got the 800 EMA kind of coming up here as well. We also still have vectors coming from this range from the downside, and we've never really retouched this 1285 down in this area. Normally we get a couple taps here, so we never really came back into this area. This is an area that we could get back to, and as Clutch would remind you, we do have some CMEs happening there as well. So
we got close to touching it last night, but they pulled away from it before they got there.
Yeah, so just kind of moving back into this area may be a possibility, but we'll see. There's a lot of news that's coming up, and other sanctions that are out there, like Clutch mentioned on the Tornado side. Not a very good thing for crypto overall. Not a very good thing for ETH. Could be some things to kind of when you start looking at the merge and everything that's happening there, could be a rain on the parade. So we've had that move up, that move down. This is on the 14-minute. On the 14-minute, we are at the 800 EMA, which currently is holding. But again, we've got this low at 1556. We're kind of in the middle of this range, at this point in time. So be careful relative to any type of trades. Use tight stops, and we've got, if you want to call it this low that we could break, but we also have this low and this low. I would say that this area would be a nice area to really start looking at some range plays to the upside, and then moving up into this area. So really, our range from 1786, we kind of broke through that and came back to this 1591 kind of ish pricing, because there's kind of a range here of what we've gotten into. And so I would look to see those, but we'll just have to depend on where we're at and how many longs, how many shorts are really coming on board. To give us somewhat of an idea, let's look at open interest first. We've had this move to the downside. Let me see if I can refresh that. Man, what's going on with this chart? My aggregated open interest is not pulling up kind of the right way. Let me see if I can take it on a 2 hour. Well, obviously this chart's not
A
looking too
glitch in
great.
the system, maybe.
Yeah, a glitch in the system, I think. But
Maybe the
anyway,
Matrix restarted last night and
yeah,
we
look at
just
this.
not paying
Yeah,
attention.
this apparently there's something going on with coin analyzer. We won't look at that OI right now. That just doesn't look too right. But if this number is correct, that's 5.7 billion. If we go and look at funding rates, kind of our sentiment chart, we've got kind of mixed across the board, starting to move into the negative on the predicted rate. We've got the major exchange FTX is on the negative side, Binance is on the negative side relative to USDT and USD. So we'll have to see how that pans out on that end. So not a whole lot to gauge from these particular charts here. The stock market did just open. It is 8:47 Central Time. And so we've got, kind of a flat opening. NASDAQ is pulling us down somewhat. So maybe we've got some earnings that are out.
Were
Gold
futures negative prior to open? I bet they
futures,
were.
they're pretty much flat, I believe. They're pretty much flat. We've got oil back, over $90. We're under $90 yesterday, like 87, and Bitcoin's down 2%, which is in line with what ETH is down as well. So we'll have to see how the market shakes out. Let's do not forget that we do have CPI that's going to be printed tomorrow. As far as news today, we're pretty much in line. Small business index, productivity is down slightly. Unit labor costs is up, right? Not good for business, but not horrible numbers. But tomorrow, August 1st, I would say that this probably is going to be the trading day. If something, this move that we had this morning in the European session could be driven by this Tronado, could be driven by the fact that we've got consumer price index coming tomorrow, and they're, kind of playing around in that range. But all about 8:30 tomorrow, we should have some activity around that. And then, of course, in the afternoon, we've got some Fed chairman speaking, Charles Evans, Neil Kashkari, right? And then federal budget coming out in the afternoon. Friday or Thursday, still got initial job claims, so still got producer price index, some other job pricing information coming in, and then consumer sentiment on Friday. So, this is kind of the article that we're talking about earlier. Actually, that's not the article. This is the article. So GitHub removes co-founder response as they blacklist Tronado Cash. So this being a protocol that the U.S. is claiming is being used to launder money for terrorists, cyber criminals. So when you get hacked, things like that, this Lazarus group, they're saying is laundering this money, trying to, basically convert stolen crypto into cash. And so this exchange here, Kraken, which is a very popular exchange.
So, guys, if you are using Kraken, do your own
Yeah.
research, obviously, but you may want to reallocate your coins and crypto to a safe wallet or a different exchange from Kraken just in the midterm until we figure out what's going to happen with this. You heard it here first, guys. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
So,
No, hey man, let's talk about something. Let's have an interesting conversation. So a lot of people get involved in the crypto space because they like the decentralized. They don't like they basically don't like the rules. And the big deal is here. We had the exchanges that went under a few weeks ago. What was the name of those?
well, we had the Celsius.
Celsius, that's it.
Yeah, that a lot of people lost money on.
So here's the deal. These people want that freedom, but when something like that cracks down and they lose a lot of things, because I guess people are just not smart enough not to put all their money into one portfolio per se, and now they're screaming and crying. But do you think those same type of people would be interested in, hey, if I can launder some money through crypto and not have to pay taxes on it, I'd absolutely do it. Like, do you think people really look at crypto like that as a possibility?
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's laundering in that sense. I think what this particular claim is, and I can answer that. I mean, the answer is probably going to be no because a lot of it's traceable and everything else. But and probably traceable and going into other countries. But I will say this is that you're probably looking at, this is more about uh, uh, this is more about stolen crypto. So say, we had that big hack that just happened not too long ago. I think in Normad or something of that nature. And so they've got to convert that crypto into cash, right? And so with that, you've got this you've got all these organizations that could be funded by stealing everybody's crypto and then converting that back into cash. I think that's more of the main concern versus tax avoidance on that end. Even though this, if we want to talk about some other activity, this Inflation Reduction Act has a shit ton of money that's being allocated for the IRS to go after, audits, things of that nature. I mean, they're trying to raise money, right, by going after, folks. So I'm sure crypto is going to be one of those in which folks they're gonna go after. But I think there's $80 billion in budgets for, things like audits, things of that nature. So, who knows what the impact of that's going to be? Obviously, there's going to be a lot more audits that are out there, and so, there's just a lot of activity around the crypto space. Is that going to be good long term? Probably. Is it going to be maybe challenging short term? As people maybe stray away from it because of some of the things that are happening. I mean, if you don't know much about it, and you come back and say, okay, well, ETH's going to be associated with some U.S. sanctioned list because, I mean, this Tronado is generally an ETH based protocol, then you might be a little wary about moving money into ETH, right? Like that's so it may dampen some of the parade. And a lot of folks, where they're talking about the flipping of Bitcoin relative to ETH, they're talking about the merge coming up and how that value proposition that's going to help to accelerate ETH. All that can be hampered by regulation in the U.S., which is one of the largest crypto markets that are out there.
Do you think that that they're controlling the narrative just like they do narrative with everything else regarding to the stock market to just as like justification for why price is going one way or the other?
I mean, I think this is real news. This is not, for lack of a better, this is not fake news, right? Like there are actual sanctions that are out there. You've got to, I don't know if this was something that was anticipated, beforehand, but definitely, I think it's going to have an impact some way. Now, if you're a real institution and you feel like based upon this, you can, move price up, and here we go. Look at ETH starting to come back down.
I know.
They're listening to the podcast.
I know. Everyone, they are listening to the podcast. They're on to us.
Yeah. So so we start getting a lot of just, because look at what happened when Celsius and Luna, Terra, and all that stuff started happening. I mean, the market essentially did start to retreat somewhat. So this may be, one of those clearing outs.
Here we go. We are about to close CME right now. Man, I missed my order too.
Look, we have to pause the podcast so that we can.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No, so that we can make sure that all of our trades are still good.
Oh, good. Anyway, yeah, sorry about that, folks. Let's go ahead and get the rest of the show done.
Of for the trades that are out there.
Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead and get this going. Let me know if you can see this. You should be able to. This is High Block Capital here, folks, and this is High Block Capital. We look at every day. Yesterday morning, we were at 15 billion and positive, and no, it's just slowing down. We're down to about 5 billion. I don't know why this isn't working right now. About $5 billion in positive. So just in about a short 24 hours, we have $10 billion in longs on the Binance exchange have been wiped off the board. And they're going to continue to probably come down here and get the rest of these. I was expecting New York to open with a stop hunt this morning. They did, however, it was a very small one. And with that being said, we're continuing on the downside right now. So let me get Bookmap over here for you guys, so you guys can take a look at Bookmap and see what's going on here. And as you can see, we're heavily weighted to the downside right here. We got a lot of downward action down here on the momentum train, and I think we're going to continue to see some downside action. They're probably going to range their way through it, though. However, just because they have to, that's how they set up the traps, So they'll range. People think they're going long, pull back, take them out, etc. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Long-term liquidity, right now, we'll zoom out real quick. And as you can see, we got some stuff up here at 1800. We got some stuff up here at 1900. We're really testing this area where we're at 1600, and of course about 1450. And those are the big areas today. So I would expect that we're just going to see some continuation to the downside. I don't think we're going to see any sharp continuation. I think we're just going to slowly kind of just range our way through it down there. However, breaking once we get down in the 1660 area, the session volume profile. This is only for last 36 hours. I mean, we got some pretty big orders down here in the 1600 range, so we may actually move through that pretty quick. So we'll just have to see what that looks like when we get there. But be looking for either a bounce or a breakthrough about 1670 area. So if we break past that, go ahead and get ready for a ride down. So that's really all I got right now.
Yeah, most definitely. That is all that I have as well. I think we talked pretty much about some of the current news, which we'll start to do, I guess, more on the show, because the macro environment and what's happening in crypto does affect crypto, especially with all these sanctions and things of that nature. And it's coming fast, man. We're in an industry that's really changing, which can be advantageous and disadvantageous for those that are willing to take some of that risk and get caught up in things like Celsius and if you're using Tornado Cash, but you're not laundering money, you've been affected, right? So just by kind of getting into these protocols that you're not familiar with, or you didn't know who's using it on the back end. But, it's this is the process. So I think long term it's great for crypto, but short term can be challenging, and we'll kind of just see how it plays out.
Well, that's all we have for today, guys. Until next time, stay frosty, my friends. AMF.